You always wanted to fly, Kent. Now's your chance.
Superman 3 continues. Will you be Superman in Superman 3?
Sure, I've agreed to Superman 3. I love it.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
hi, all. Hi, how you doing?
I loved the first two Superman films. I thought they captured the essence of Superman. It was like the comic book come to life in so many ways. And I believe that after the first couple of movies, the quality sank. I don't think it was the genre cooled off. I don't think it was that America was tired of Superman. I think it's just a matter that the quality was not there like it had been originally.
I actually wrote a treatment completely different from the Superman 3 that was made. It was a gigantic, much more cosmic picture where we were introducing Brainiac, we were introducing Mxyzptlk, and Supergirl. Warner's didn't like the treatment. And then, of course, there was the Pryor thing. Somebody saw Pryor on a Johnny Carson saying, wow, I'd love to be in a Superman movie.
I think the problem with success is sometimes you get very nervous that you're not going to achieve it and the next version. And so you go to anxious lengths to try to protect the success. And so it seemed like, oh, a guarantee, you put Richard Pryor in the movie, and of course the film will be a great success. But it skewed the sensibility of the film, turned it more toward comedy than toward the semi-serious drama that the first two movies had been. And I think that really was the beginning of the downward slide. Not enough faith in the character and in the underlying material to realize that one could do another and another and another without sort of gussying it up.
Richard was a boyfriend of mine from Some Kind of Hero, and Richard was a really brilliant actor, which nobody ever gave him credit for. They just put him on a set and say, be funny. And I think Lester made a very similar mistake. He was not given the respect he deserved and had earned as an actor. I'm not sure of all the ins and outs about it. It didn't work for him on the set. He was terrified of the flying stuff, and I think he was pretty heartbroken.
We definitely wanted to use Pryor's talents. I mean, there's no point in getting somebody like Pryor unless you can give him something to do. But we were equally intrigued by giving Chris a whole new thing to work with. And I think he does the evil Superman brilliantly.
Bad Superman for the fans was like showing a portrait of the devil. We touched a raw nerve, not knowingly, certainly, and I guess even DC didn't realize that.
Lois, are you going someplace?
Well, Clark, you know, some people get to go all the way to Smallville, and then there are others of us who have to go to Bermuda.
Golly.
Bye.
Margot got a pass on that because, of course, we cut her. First of all, nobody forced her to come back to shoot because there was no deal that she had to. Once we went into the direction the film went, without the Supergirl and all that, of course, we wanted another love interest. So then we came up with Delana Lang and Annette O'Toole.
You're supposed to say that. You're supposed to say we're exploring another character or whatever. They hurt my beloved Donner, and I made no bones about how I felt about it, and the repercussions were followed like the night to day. So I come in at the beginning and I say I'm going on vacation, hi Annette O'Toole, and I go off and I come back at the end, I guess, with a tan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hate to make you rush off.
Well, there's no rush.
But the bridge...
Oh, it's okay. I always get there on time. Come on, let's relax a little.
When I first got there, all my stuff was with Clark Kent. I remember the day I saw him in the costume for the first time. And there he looked like a mountain. I remember it was one of those moments from you see in movies where you see this kind of the chest, and then you go up and see the shoulders, and then you see this head, and it's like, and I literally got chills.
We tried to be clever, and all of that was just not completely the film I think that audiences were expecting.
First of all, the third film was an enormous success because everybody says it was a flop. I'm sorry. I don't think Canon would have bought an option from us if it was a flop to do a Superman 4.
Having made Superman 3, we felt that we didn't have the energy or the desire to make yet another Superman film. That was really both Ilya's and my feeling. His father then said, okay, well, if you guys don't make it, someone's gonna make it, and we're just not gonna let the property sleep.
Then my father wanted to do a 4. And then I said, no, let's do Supergirl. At least it's a different film.
What I liked about it was that it was different, that it was, first it was about a girl heroine, which was already very unusual. And then I told them, I said, look, we can't do strength, but maybe we can do grace. We can do something which is more lyrical, especially in the flying, and that's, I think, the idea of when she discovers her powers and this kind of ballet came. And I said, I think if we go more in that direction, I think it will be interesting and we'll have something valid. If we just try to do Superman with a skirt, I think we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, they wanted a completely different sort of feel to sort of the Superman to the Supergirl. I mean, she was doing aerial ballets in Scotland, and she was sort of a more delicate thing, it felt to me anyway.
When I auditioned for the movie, it was all the same people involved, the Salkins and Timothy Burrell and Alf Joint, who trained me for Supergirl. That was Chris's same guy. All the people where I learned how to fly, those were all the same people that had worked with Chris and on the Superman movies. So there were a lot of similar crossover.
Part of the concept was that Superman is her cousin. And when she comes to Earth, he's there to kind of welcome her. And 3 months before we started shooting, Christopher just didn't feel right about being in the picture at all. So that part of it disappeared. And that was a big regret for me because I really felt that it made it special.
In the initial script, I was the only one in there. I was the only one in there, and I kind of was wondering whether is Supergirl Superman's sister? And I was curious with Jeannot. I said, when I see her, shouldn't I mention Superman, or should there be some kind of connection? He goes, no, this is her world. And it got to a point where, why was I there?
I did a movie after Supergirl called The Legend of Billie Jean, and even in that film, they got it a little bit more right about an 18-year-old, 17-year-old going through certain rites of passage, and I felt like in Supergirl, they were shying away from it, I think just because there was so much money in the film and so much kind of expectation, they couldn't really explore a girl's journey, and my wish is that now they would revisit that kind of story and find a way to tell it with depth and humor and a story that you can actually follow.
But you know, the film didn't do well, except in some territories. It didn't meet our expectations. I don't think we missed. I think it wasn't what people expected.
I want to propose a toast to a nice guy who's about to finish last. Destroy Superman.
I don't know how to say this, but I mean, there was a Superman 4, which did not help the cause of comic book movies.
We were lucky to get the rights, to succeed in getting the rights to Superman 4 from Warner Brothers. And I told Yoram, my partner, the president of Canon, it's time we do a comic book story.
We wanted to bring, I think, something new and fresh to Superman, and that's why we decided to put Superman saving the world from the nuclear weapon.
Chris mentioned that since they were trying to restart the series and he felt Superman needed some special edge to it, this was a movie that asked the big question: why doesn't Superman help us? And that made a very difficult equation to solve.
When Chris decided to do 4, The Quest for Peace, and it really was an anti-nuclear movie and ridding the world of nuclear weapons, he called me and asked me about it. And I said, Chris, you want to stay away from anything that Superman can cure. It's one of the things of writing for a superhero.
Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
Sidney Furie, which is a well-known director, was hired to do the movie, but at least going in, all of us believed that Sidney Furie would be the right one.
The only way there would be a fourth is if Chris wanted to do it. And, you know, everybody wants to make money, and it would be great to do another one to try to have everybody forget about number 3. I think what happened in number 4 is that Chris was doing something that he wanted to do, you know, become more involved in how Superman was shaped. I think that's what got everybody back together was, if it wasn't for Chris, Superman 4 wouldn't have happened.
If you teach the earth to put its fate in any one man, even yourself, you're teaching them to be betrayed. 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 Betrayed, betrayed.
Cannon at the time had come out of just real, in the old days, of real low-budget movies. You know, it was more out of the Roger Corman world, and I think they were trying to buy legitimacy for the, you know, with this one big paycheck. I do know the cutting of the special effects budget and the general budget of the movie, I think, came out of their financial shortcomings.
They probably didn't understand how big special effect films need to be made. When you make a big film like Superman, one of your stars is the special effect. It's an expensive stuff. You cannot get away with being cheap on that.
And I also think that the conception of Nuclear Man was also sort of dumbed down. We thought, why not conceive of Nuclear Man, which is cloned from him, as some kind of dark shadow of his own. And we actually talked with Chris about playing both roles. It would have been a lot tougher and certainly more expensive to have Chris play both roles, but that's what its original conception was.
The picture was opened in the United States first. Unfortunately, it was not successful. Bad reviews. I think that after Superman 4, which was not the success that all of us were expecting it, we all decided that Superman needs a rest.
I think Chris felt very proud of the possibility that this would return to the first, like the same quality of the first 2 Superman, the Dick Donner Superman, and, you know, to have continued it. You know, once the budget got cut and the flying and everything got dumbed down and just wasn't done right, that it just seemed like a failure. You can't enlist the energy of a studio to get onto a sequel when there's been a failure like that. Because now they had 3 and 4 that didn't click. So it seemed like, you know what, this franchise isn't going to happen for a while.
I think if you had Dick Donner, you know, if you just left it to Dick, you know, maybe I'd still be playing Jimmy Olsen to this day. You know, and Chris would still be flying around. Who knows how crazily great it could have been. But the fact that you change directors, change all these personalities, it shows. It could have been amazing, but what happened is, you know, things change, and so does this, you know, what goes on screen, I guess.
It was never the same after that first year and a half. It just nobody ever was able to come in and pull that thing back together again. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and that's what happened.
My son, it is forbidden for you to interfere in human history.
One thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason.
Since 1939, Superman has been continuously appearing in some form or another in all different mediums. You had Superman comic books published continually. You had the Superman radio show. You had a Superman newspaper comic strip. You had the Superman TV series with George Reeves. So Superman was never out of public consciousness.
I think we need Superman. I just think we have to have him. He's hope. You know, we have to know there's someone who can save us. You want to believe that there's someone who can make it okay. And how wonderful that we were given Christopher to play him. What better role model could you have?
When you're talking about Superman, it's a whole different kind of a deal, you know. It makes you want to be a kid again, you know. It's kind of like an ageless deal, you know what I mean? And when you stop and think that we did that picture almost 30 years ago, that's a hell of a longevity.
We had a certain reputation when I was with my father. I think the reputation is very different now. And, you know, the timing, the passion for the project, and being honest with the project, all that was very important. If you don't have the passion and you're not doing it by pure love, I think it's very hard to make a good movie.
It was a time in our history when it was important, because that was right after Watergate, right after the Vietnam War. It was all the elements that came together in a period of time where we weren't so innocent, but they wanted to bring innocence back to cinema. And I think that's why it worked.
My beloved little grandson, Charlie, sat down, and he's 4, and watched Superman for the first time, and he was dumbstruck. It's that thing of a 4-year-old boy's eyes being awakened to concepts of good and evil, and of doing good, and a hero who can fly. And it will remain important to him for the rest of his life.
For a whole generation of children, it would be their first movie experience. And I had the feeling that by the time that generation grew up, more of them would look to Zod as an idol than Superman. And there's really funny experiences happen. I was in New York, and there's 3 guys standing right in my path, staring me down. And as I get really close, one of them said, "You that Zod?" And I said, "Smile when you say that." And they just peeled away, and
It is now part of sort of American culture, film culture, and it will be remembered so fondly. Donner just captured that mood, the right atmosphere and tone, and he made everybody want to believe in this. Not just making a movie, we're believing in Superman.
As far as how it affected me and my career and looking back on it, it propelled me and my future opportunities very well. It made me some wonderful friends, Christopher in particular, and Margot. I was offered every comic book in sight after it, and I felt I couldn't do another one ever because that was it. I did it. I think I probably felt I couldn't do it as well. And it was a stepping stone, a moment in my life that had many, many consequences.
Richard Donner's work on that picture was groundbreaking. But for Dick Donner, there would be no Batman movie in 1989, which in and of itself was revolutionary. There would be no Spider-Man movie. But for Dick Donner's Smallville sequence, there would be no Smallville television series today. He set the pace. He proved it could be done.
Success has many fathers in Hollywood, and failure is an orphan. That success, a lot of people claim they saw it coming, they designed it, they divined it, but what was certain is it changed the paradigm, and every major company said, "Get me one of those." Batman and Superman were 50-year-old properties. They were part of the lexicon, the language of American pop culture. And so the combination of finding it and executing it and delivering it to the marketplace at the right time with the right marketing, that's the magic of storytelling and the magic of modern cinema.
Well, good night.
Oh, good night. What a Superman. Superman.
Come! Come and kneel before Zod! 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 Zod!